Shall we begin?
It has been more than a week I lived in this city, and I did this, and this. But this story is not about this, and this, but it's about questions that I keep asking myself whenever I am here. And it seems to me like whenever here, the next street I have walked, or building I have seen, or train I have taken, or people I have met, somehow puzzle me with questions like, why this city is so huge? What's the reason of Moscow's hugeness in this country? Because every foreigner from outside thinks Moscow equals to Russia, like it is some sort of huge obsession, because this city is too big. When I say big, it is 3 times the size of New York City. Back then, this was the architectural plan of Moscow city, which I took from Harvard Map Collection, 1900s, which looks complex, and I can resonate with it because I'm Indian and our maps were like this, and this. And now coming to our story, the 3 main parts that
how Moscow became so big.
Number 1, ambition and demographics.
Moscow should adapt an European outlook. These words
Were surprisingly said before Stalin.
By this man. Just kidding.
By this man, Nikolai Shenkov, the deputy of Moscow Parliament, who was also the head of City Planning Committee at that time, shared his vision with newspaper Voice of Moscow. However, the committee didn't have chance to implement its project due to 1917 revolution.
100 years ago today, the world unquestionably changed. The Bolshevik Revolution.
But the need for replanning Moscow was so obvious because from just 1918 to 1924, over 500,000 people were relocated from Moscow's remote area to main town Moscow. Moscow was desperate for change, but she had to wait more 12 years. And exactly in 1932, a closed contest for general plan of Moscow was run, with great architects like Number 1, Le Corbusier, Swiss-French architect. Number 2, Hans Mayer, second director of Bauhaus. Number 3, Ernest May, creator of New Frankfurt. They all submitted their projects. Among them, Le Corbusier's plan was most radical one, because this guy said, it's all piled up in mess, without any purpose, and let's demolish everything and rebuild everything back again. Strange, quite strange. No one liked it at that time. But someone had clever explanation, and that was Ernest May. He had estimated that Moscow had capacity of just 1 million, and population living in this city is way more than 3 million. And that's what happened with most of the big cities. Problem was population, and the problem is population. After a lot of efforts, the so-called general plan for Moscow's reconstruction was finished in 1935, and by then, lots of construction had already begun. The first subway line, Sokolnicheskaya, in which I am standing now, was finished. Number 2. What was lost? The time of Moscow's reconstruction coincided with an anti-religious campaign led by the authorities. And in 1928, the mass destruction of Orthodox churches had begun. And Bolsheviks, communist group led by Lenin, didn't hesitate to demolish old churches if they interfered with an expansion of roads. And according to the plan, all the significant squares of the city, including Red Square, were to increase at least twice in its dimensions due to demolition of buildings around it.
So now I am at the Cathedral of Christ the Savior, but no one is savior here for me because the city is very difficult to travel, and if you are traveling solo, I think a week is not a good idea to travel the whole city. It's better to take a 1-year whole break to see the city. So this cathedral is,
which has very unstable timeline because it took 40 years to build. It was finished in 1883 and dedicated to Russia's victory over Napoleon. This 103-meter cathedral was blown up in 1931 and again in 1937 reconstruction started. which later halted in 1941 when World War started. Later, in 1958, the swimming pool Moskva was dug in its place. And later, in 2000, it was rebuilt again according to its original design. Quite unstable timeline. Yup. In general, the number of historical buildings officially protected by state fell from 216 in 1928 to 74 in number in 1935. And soon, with the start of World War II in 1941, the general plan of Moscow's reconstruction halted, and again, Moscow got stuck in the vicious cycle of construction and reconstruction. Number 3. What was gained? Apart from the architectural monuments that were lost, the city at the same time gained a great deal. Thanks to the widening of central streets and creating radial avenues and highways, Moscow became ready to accommodate more people and, more importantly, to make more transportation inside a vast city possible. Soon after the war, continuing the implementation of general plan, the districts of Moscow surrounding old city center were created following a grid principle, which made public transportation easier. Moscow Automobile Ring Road was planned in late 1930s and created in 1962. And one more thing Moscow gained in this process was the Moskva-Volga Canal. This one. This Moscow-Volga Canal was constructed using prisoners from Gulag system.
Suspected spies, murderers, thieves, political dissenters.
This canal allowed shorter connection between the rivers and boosted development of river transportation. Vital needs of this giant city were met in space of about 20 to 30 years. It was more difficult because the general plan was hindered and undermined by World War I and II. But this city stood and survived. The Stalinist reconstruction generally made Moscow what it is today.
Not only ambition, demographic structures lost or gained made this city so huge, but keeping development as a priority made this city so damn big.